The 31-year-old mom was shot and killed just after dropping her son off at school near Romeca State in the South Loop. She had gotten into a fight with another woman. Both of them share a child with the same man who lives nearby. He was also at that scene. That other woman, also 31, shot Blackmon 3 times. One bullet struck her in the face.
Got a female black complexion, green tracksuit, has a gun, fighting with another female black, dark complexion.
The shooter stayed on the scene, and as you can see, a witness pointed out the shooter to police. One of the witnesses also said the father of Blackmon's child had her in a headlock before the shots were fired.
I'm licensed to carry.
It doesn't matter.
You shot somebody. What the wrong with you?
The man in the shorts is CJ's father. He's covered in blood.
How did she just walk away? How? When they told you that he had her in the headlock, how did he even walk away? Why did they was so easy to walk away? They tell me, look at the video, they bumping fences. I don't know about any of that because I really can't even focus.
Court records show the shooter had filed multiple protective orders against Blackmon starting last December and as recently as this summer. The family believes she was trying to build a paper trail.
That's a game that was played and it was premeditated.
The shooter was taken into custody but later released. Blackmon's family says she was unarmed. Witness video also shows Blackmon's white car stopped in the street, but it's unclear how she got out. They insist there was no reason to shoot her. Blackmon worked 2 jobs and was studying to become a registered nurse. Her
had an opportunity to walk away, to call the police, to turn around and get in your car and drive off. You did none of the above.
The Cook County State's Attorney's Office did release a statement. After an initial review of the evidence presented by police, there's insufficient information to make a charging decision at this time. We will continue working with the Chicago Police Department as the investigation proceeds and remain committed to pursuing justice for everyone in our communities.
The morning of September 8, 2025, began like any other school day in Chicago. For 31-year-old Romeca Meeks-Blackmon, the routine was familiar and comforting. As a devoted mother, her mornings were always focused on one person, her young son. She woke up early, making sure he was ready for school, preparing his lunch, and checking that everything he needed for the day was packed inside his backpack. Friends and family often described Romeca as someone who took motherhood very seriously. She believed in encouraging her son every chance she got, even through the smallest gestures. On that particular morning, before leaving the house, she slipped a handwritten note into his lunchbox. The message was simple but powerful. In it, she reminded her son to be confident, to believe in himself, and to remember that he was loved more than anything in the world. At the bottom of the note, she signed it the way she always did. "Mommy loves you." Neither of them knew that those words would soon become something heartbreaking. After leaving home, Romeca drove her son to school in Chicago's South Loop neighborhood. The streets were busy with parents dropping off children and teachers welcoming students into the building. It was the kind of everyday scene that happens in cities all across the country, ordinary, predictable, and safe. Just after 9 a.m., Romeca pulled up near the school and let her son out of the car. Witnesses later said she watched him walk toward the entrance, making sure he got inside safely. Like any caring parent, she likely expected to see him again later that afternoon. But only minutes after that goodbye, something terrible happened outside the school. A confrontation began that would end in tragedy and leave an entire community in shock. As we follow the details of this case, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Cold Trail True Crime, and share this story so more people can hear what happened to Romeca Meeks. Only minutes after Romeca Meeks-Blackmon watched her son walk safely into the school building, the calm morning outside suddenly shifted. Parents were still arriving, children were heading toward the entrance, and the usual sounds of traffic filled the street. Nothing seemed unusual at first, but within moments, a tense encounter began that no one present would ever forget. Witnesses later said a woman approached Romeca near her vehicle shortly after the school drop-off. At first, It appeared to be a confrontation between two people who already knew each other. Voices were raised, and the argument quickly became heated. People nearby began to notice the tension, but many assumed it was simply a disagreement that would end after a few moments. Instead, the situation escalated in a way no one expected. In the middle of the argument, the woman suddenly pulled out a firearm.
The shooter stayed on the scene, and as you can see, a witness pointed out the shooter to police. One of the witnesses also said the father of Blackmon's child had her in a headlock before the shots were fired.
I'm licensed to carry.
It doesn't matter.
You shot somebody. What the wrong with you?
The man in the shorts is CJ's father. He's covered in blood.
Before anyone could react or intervene, a single gunshot rang out through the street. The bullet struck Romeca at close range, and she collapsed beside her vehicle. The sound of the gunshot caused panic among the parents and students nearby. Some rushed their children inside the school building. A few witnesses tried to help Romeca as she lay injured on the ground, but the scene was chaotic and terrifying. Emergency responders arrived quickly and rushed Romeca to Strager Hospital in critical condition. Doctors worked urgently to save her life, but the injury was severe. Despite every effort made by medical staff, Romeca Meeks-Blackmon was later pronounced dead. The news spread rapidly throughout Chicago. A mother had been shot and killed in broad daylight just moments after dropping her child off at school. The shocking location of the crime made the tragedy even more disturbing. As investigators began examining the scene, it quickly became clear that this was not a random act of violence. Detectives believed the suspect and Romeca had a personal connection. And that discovery would soon reveal a deeply complicated and tragic conflict. As news of the shooting spread across Chicago, investigators moved quickly to secure the scene outside the school. Yellow police tape surrounded the area while detectives began speaking with witnesses who had seen the confrontation unfold. Surveillance cameras from nearby buildings, traffic lights, and businesses were also collected, each one potentially holding a crucial piece of the puzzle. For the parents who had been there that morning, the shock was overwhelming. Many had been only a few feet away when the argument began. Some had heard the raised voices, while others had seen the moment the gun was fired. What disturbed them the most was how quickly everything had happened. Within seconds, a normal school drop-off had turned into a deadly crime scene. Police officers began piecing together the timeline. Romeca Meeks-Blackmon had dropped off her son and was preparing to leave when the suspect approached her. Witnesses described the suspect as a woman who appeared angry and determined. The confrontation escalated almost immediately. But the biggest question detectives needed to answer was why. As investigators continued interviewing witnesses, a possible motive began to surface. According to early reports, the suspect was believed to have a personal connection to Romeca through a shared relationship with the same man. The situation pointed toward a complicated conflict involving family and jealousy. Authorities soon identified the suspect and began searching for her. The investigation moved quickly because detectives feared the suspect might attempt to flee the area. Within hours, police located and detained the woman believed to be responsible for the shooting. Her arrest marked the first major development in the case, but it did not bring comfort to Romeca's grieving family. Instead, it raised even more painful questions about how a dispute could escalate to such a violent act, especially in front of a school filled with children.
You want to say something to her, look down at your heart. And whatever you say to her, say it to her right there. The same way I have to do. I have to look right here. And I have to talk to her. And ask her, just tell me what happened.
As the investigation continued, the story began to gain national attention, leaving many people asking how such a tragedy could happen in broad daylight. If you want to continue following the full story and the search for justice, Make sure to like this video, subscribe to Cold Trail True Crime, and share this documentary so more people can hear Romeca's story. As detectives continued their investigation, the identity of the suspect quickly became public. The woman taken into custody was Tanisha Means, a resident of Des Plaines, Illinois. According to police reports, the conflict between her and Romeca Meeks-Blackmon was not random. Investigators believe the two women were connected through a complicated personal relationship involving the same man. Authorities revealed that tensions between the women had reportedly been building for some time. Friends and people close to the situation later suggested that jealousy and unresolved conflict had created a deep divide between them. What may have started as personal disagreements eventually escalated into something far more dangerous. Detectives believe that on the morning of the shooting, the suspect deliberately confronted Romeca near the school shortly after the drop-off. Witness statements and surveillance footage helped investigators reconstruct those final moments before the gunshot was fired.
I was actually the one at the scene. So I was the one that was yelling out to arrest her, because everybody wasn't doing anything. I was actually the one who called the cops first. And I saw them when they were fighting in the beginning, and I was like, this is not right. He was slamming her with the door when she was standing in her door frame, not even close to the female on the other side. So she was literally standing on the other side of the road, and her baby daddy was literally slamming the door on her back. So she went back into her car, came back out. And then this was when the baby daddy walked towards the other baby mama. After this happened, he grabbed her by the waist. She tried to wiggle away from him. Her arm was like literally almost getting free with his arm around her neck at this time, because he was holding her by the waist in the beginning and she wiggled out, After this happened, he had her in the, like, almost looking like a headlock to me on the side. And then the other baby mama stated, "I'm gonna shoot you, bitch. Watch me shoot you, bitch." And he stated, she's gonna go get her gun. She's gonna go get her gun. Watch. And after this happened, she ran to the passenger side of her vehicle, grabbed her gun, went around. And when the woman, the mother, who slipped away from him for at least like maybe a good second. As soon as she slipped away, she shot her. And she shot her in the face, on her side, and in her thigh. And I saw him like holding her for a split second. Maybe he was in shock, but after he was in shock, I guess he picked her up. And when she was falling, like a gush of blood fell,
According to police, the argument escalated quickly, ending with a single, devastating shot at close range. After the shooting, the suspect reportedly fled the scene, but the investigation moved quickly. With witness descriptions and camera footage, authorities were able to track down the suspect within hours. She was taken into custody and later charged in connection with the fatal shooting. For Romeca's family, the arrest did little to ease the pain of their loss. They were now facing the heartbreaking reality that a mother, daughter, and friend had been taken away in an act of violence that happened in front of a school filled with children. Community members were equally shaken. Parents who had been at the drop-off that morning struggled to process what they had witnessed. Schools are meant to be safe places for children, yet this tragedy had unfolded right outside its doors. As the case moved forward, prosecutors began preparing charges that could send the suspect to prison for decades. And while the legal process was only just beginning, one painful truth was already clear. A young boy had lost his mother forever. As this investigation continues, remember to like the video, subscribe to Cold Trail True Crime, and share this story so the truth behind Romeca's case continues to reach more people. The impact of Romeca Meeks-Blackmon's death rippled far beyond her family. In the days following the shooting, Chicago residents, parents, and community members were left grappling with the horrifying reality that a mother could be killed in broad daylight outside a school. Local authorities emphasized the unusual and disturbing nature of the crime, noting how rare it was for such violence to occur in an area filled with children and families. Romeca's funeral became a gathering point for those who knew her and for strangers who had been touched by the story. Friends, neighbors, and even members of the wider public came together to honor her memory. Many spoke about her dedication to her son, describing her as loving, caring, and committed to ensuring he had a better life. Each tribute highlighted how deeply she had been loved and how her sudden death left a void that could never be filled. Meanwhile, law enforcement continued their investigation, meticulously piecing together events from the morning of the shooting. Surveillance footage, eyewitness accounts, and forensic evidence were carefully examined to build a clear timeline. Detectives sought to understand not only what had happened, but why it had happened. The connection between the suspect and Romeca suggested a deeply personal motive, one that would play a significant role in the eventual court proceedings. As the media reported on the case, social media became flooded with messages of support for Romeca's son. Many people were horrified at the thought of a 6-year-old losing his mother so suddenly, and the story sparked broader discussions about safety, conflict resolution, and domestic disputes. The tragedy highlighted the dangers of unresolved conflicts escalating to violence. It also raised questions about the responsibility of communities and authorities in preventing such incidents. If you want to stay updated on how justice unfolds for Romeca Meeks and her family, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Cold Trail True Crime, and share this story so more people can follow the cold trail of this heartbreaking case. As the investigation into Romeca Meeks-Blackmon's death continued, prosecutors and law enforcement worked tirelessly to prepare a case strong enough to hold in court. The evidence collected at the scene, combined with witness testimonies and surveillance footage, painted a chilling picture of what had happened that morning. Authorities were determined to ensure that justice would be served, not just for Romeca, but for her young son who had been left without his mother. During this time, details about the suspect, Tanisha Means, emerged in court filings. Investigators revealed that the conflict between her and Romeca had been ongoing, with jealousy and personal grievances fueling a dangerous situation. What may have started as arguments behind closed doors had escalated into a violent confrontation in the most public of settings outside a school where children and families were present. Community members watched closely as the legal process began. For many, it was difficult to understand how such personal disputes could result in such tragedy. Schools, normally considered safe spaces for children, had been turned into the backdrop for a violent act, leaving parents uneasy and prompting conversations about security and awareness. For Romeca's family, every day without her was a reminder of what had been lost. Her son, now facing life without his mother, became the center of their concern. Friends and relatives worked to provide comfort and stability, while also advocating for justice. The media coverage surrounding the case brought national attention, and social media became a platform for mourning, support, and discussions about violence and accountability. Romeca's story was no longer just a local tragedy. It was a cautionary tale about the consequences of unresolved conflict and the fragility of life. As the case moved closer to trial, investigators and prosecutors prepared to confront the difficult truth of what had happened. Remember to like this video, subscribe to Cold Trail True Crime, and share this story so more people can follow the investigation and honor the memory of Romeca Meeks. The trial for the woman accused of killing Romeca Meeks-Blackmon brought the tragedy into sharp focus for the entire community. Courtrooms were filled with reporters, family members, and supporters, all waiting to hear the details of that fatal morning. Every witness testimony, piece of evidence, and surveillance clip was examined closely, as prosecutors sought to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the suspect had intentionally carried out a violent act. During the proceedings, witnesses recounted the moments leading up to the shooting. Their accounts were vivid and haunting. The argument, the raised voices, the sudden pull of a firearm, and the devastating impact of a single gunshot. Each testimony painted a picture of how quickly a moment of conflict could escalate into irreversible tragedy. The details of Romeca's final moments were heart-wrenching, and the courtroom atmosphere was tense with emotion. Evidence also revealed the relationship between Romeca and the suspect, highlighting the personal nature of the conflict. Prosecutors argued that jealousy and unresolved disputes had motivated the suspect, culminating in a violent act that not only ended Romeca's life, but also shattered the life of her young son. Family members, while grieving, provided statements about Romeca's character, emphasizing her love, dedication, and the small gestures she used to support and encourage her child. They described her as a devoted mother who would do anything to protect and nurture her son. Their words served as a reminder of the life that had been cut short and the child who would now have to grow up without his mother. As the trial progressed, the community followed closely, sharing the story and expressing outrage and sorrow. The case became a conversation about safety, accountability, and the consequences of personal disputes turning violent. If you want to continue following how justice unfolds for Romeca Meeks-Blackmon and her family, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Cold Trail True Crime, and share this story so more people can hear the full story behind the tragedy. The days following the trial left a lingering sense of grief and reflection throughout Chicago. While the court worked through legal proceedings, Romeca Meeks-Blackmon's family, friends, and community members were left to grapple with the reality of her absence. Her young son faced life without the mother who had dedicated every morning, every note, and every hug to his well-being. The tragedy of her death was compounded by the public nature of the crime, a violent act that had occurred in broad daylight, in front of witnesses, and outside a place meant to be safe for children. As prosecutors worked to hold the suspect accountable, the story of Romeca's life became an inspiration for awareness and action. Media coverage highlighted the need to address conflicts before they escalate, and discussions about safety, domestic disputes, and community vigilance became central topics. Advocates called for programs to educate people about resolving disputes peacefully, emphasizing that the smallest decisions could prevent the most devastating outcomes. Despite the heartbreak, Romeca's memory lived on in the countless ways she had touched her community. Her family shared stories about her kindness, devotion, and the love she poured into her son. Social media posts, community vigils, and charitable gestures in her honor reminded everyone that even in tragedy, her life had meaning and impact. For her son, the handwritten notes, hugs, and teachings of his mother remained a guiding presence. Friends and relatives stepped in to provide care, ensuring that her love and lessons continued to shape his life. Romeca Meeks-Blackmon's story is a stark reminder of the fragility of life, the consequences of unresolved conflict, and the enduring power of love and family. Her tragic death exposed a community to the harsh realities of violence, but her legacy continues to inspire those who knew her and those who have since learned her story. If you want to honor her memory and stay updated on cases like this, make sure to like this video, subscribe to Cold Trail True Crime, and share this story so more people can follow the cold trail of real-life crime. Every view, every comment, every share is what makes it possible to keep telling stories like this one. We will be back with more. Stay with us.